So last week, a lot of us rightfully thought that Elizabeth Warren saw the light, and maybe she now wanted to reconnect with the progressive she alienated in 2016 after learning how the primary was rigged against Bernie Sanders. I mean, once Donna Brazile released that excerpt from her book and gave us undeniable proof that Hillary Clinton was in full control of the DNC, public officials like Elizabeth Warren could no longer deny reality, and that reality was that the primary was rigged, and I gave Elizabeth Warren credit for admitting that.
Very quickly, Senator, do you agree with the notion that it was rigged?
Yes. Do you think, though, that what we're learning from Donna Brazile's book suggests that the campaign, that what the Democratic National Committee did, meant this election was rigged?
Yeah, I think it was.
It's a pretty powerful charge.
Well, what we have to focus on now as Democrats is we recognize the process was rigged. And now it is up to Democrats to build a new process, a process that really works and works for everyone. And that as we go forward, we have confidence in the integrity of the system, that Democrats, as they run a primary, are going to let the people speak, and that we're going to have a candidate who's the candidate chosen by the people. That's our job.
Now, that was really important because Elizabeth Warren is someone who is kind of this bridge between the progressive wing of the Democratic Party and the establishment. So if she says something, then that claim is going to have more credibility because of her legitimacy. So once Elizabeth Warren admitted, yes, the primary was rigged, then we saw people talking about it everywhere. We saw, the hosts on The View say it was rigged. We saw, reporters asking other Democrats, do you agree with Elizabeth Warren that it was rigged? So what she said was really important. But after trying to seemingly win back our trust by just stating the obvious, that the primary was rigged, she's now backtracking. So Olivia Beavers of The Hill reports Senator Elizabeth Warren in a new interview appeared to walk back her claim that last year's Democratic primary was rigged, suggesting instead that the Democratic National Committee showed some bias, but that the selection process had been fair. I agree with what Donna Brazile has said over the last few days, that while there was some bias at the DNC, the overall 2016 primary process was fair, and Hillary made history, Warren said in a Wednesday interview with Mass Live. So, for one candidate to take full control of the most important divisions of the DNC, an organization that is supposed to be neutral during a primary process, you'd call that some bias? You would call the scheduling of debates during huge sporting events, during the weekend before Christmas, some bias? You'd call superdelegates some bias, Elizabeth? So, at this point, I think that Elizabeth Warren, in denying this, she has permanently lost her credibility among progressives. I mean, in trying to recultivate that trust, that relationship that she lost with us, I don't know if she can return after this. I just don't. And it's not because I'm angry that she's no longer using the term rigged. It's because she's denying reality now. She is willing to ignore facts in order to do the bidding of the establishment, because we all know what probably happened. She, she was on CNN, she said it was rigged, and then she probably was talked to by Democratic Party leaders, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and they said, you can't be saying things like this, Elizabeth Warren. And she thought, okay, I guess I'll toe the party line. Well, look, one thing that's more important than towing the party line, Elizabeth, is actually saying what's true and being factual about what's undeniable at this point. The primary was rigged. Now, to be fair, Bernie Sanders also refuses to use the word rigged, and I don't necessarily care about the language that they use. I think some bias is a cop-out, but Bernie Sanders at least admits that there was certainly a lot of fuckery going on. And he recently stated, look, Donna Brazile showed an enormous amount of courage in describing the truth as she saw it when she came into the leadership of the DNC, Sanders told CNN's Anderson Cooper 360. I don't think there's any sane human being who doesn't believe that my campaign was taking on the entire establishment, including the DNC, but he concludes by saying, Anderson, to be very honest with you, my job, our job, is to go forward, is to do everything we can to defeat this right-wing agenda of the Republican Party in the Trump administration, not to look backwards. So in a roundabout way, Bernie Sanders is saying it's rigged, but he's still tap dancing around that specific word, rigged. And look, let's be real, I get it. Both Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren probably want to run for president in 2020, and they don't want to piss off too many Hillary Clinton supporters. The problem is that facts are facts. If Hillary Clinton supporters got outraged at the fact that the earth is not flat, then that's too bad. Facts are facts. We cannot deny reality to appease Hillary Clinton supporters. If the primary was rigged, like a mountain of evidence now shows, then we need to call a spade a spade. Just say it was rigged. But they don't want to do that. And this is the spinelessness that I am seeing now in Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren that I despise in corporate Democrats. And look, I've said it was rigged 1,000 times on this show, but you don't even have to take my word for it, because everyone else who was not just running against Hillary, but also Bernie, saw it. They see what we all see. So as early as August of 2015, Martin O'Malley accused the DNC of rigging the primary process in Hillary Clinton's favor. And also Lincoln Chafee, someone that probably just 5 of you will remember, if he's lucky. He also accused Hillary Clinton of rigging the primary.
3 cheers for Donna Brazile. I like a truth teller. I just thought the fix was in right all the way through.
Now, Martin O'Malley and Lincoln Chafee just simply saying that it was rigged, I think that, that's important, but the most glaring example of how the DNC was rigging the process came from a lesser-known candidate who actually did run in the Democratic primary named Lawrence Lessig. And the DNC was so hell-bent on shutting him out that they literally changed the rules and they made it impossible for him to win.
Now, from the start, it was clear that getting into the Democratic debates was the essential step in this campaign. I may be known in tiny corners of the tubes of the internets, but I am not well known to the American public generally. Our only chance to make this issue central to the 2016 presidential election was to be in those debates. But last week, we learned that the Democratic Party has changed its rules for inclusion in the debate. And under the new rule, unless we can time travel, there is no way that I will qualify. Until this week, the rule was 3 polls, finding me at 1% in the 6 weeks prior to the debate. Last week, we began to get close. 2 polls found me at 1%, 1 more, and I would be in the second debate, under the original rule. But under the new rule, the standard is 3 polls at least 6 weeks before the debate. That means I would have had to have qualified at the beginning of October, which means that nothing that happens now could matter. Under this new rule, I am just shut out.
Now, let me remind you that Lawrence Lessig was running as a referendum candidate. I thought that the idea was unusual and it was, quite frankly, unorthodox. Basically, he said that he would run to get money out of politics, and once he fulfilled this role, he would step down and allow his vice president to be the new president. He was just running to get money out of politics. That's it. So I don't like that aspect. I wish he just would have launched a full-fledged campaign. But him being shut out really early in the process is important because it tells us that the DNC did not want to hear from him. Do you think they wanted someone running in their primary that talked about how corrupt both parties are? Of course not. So what did they do? They changed the rules to shut him out of the process. That is how corrupt the DNC is as an organization. So to hear from all these candidates and, to see this mountain of evidence, not just with Donna Brazile's revelations, but with the WikiLeaks, with everything that was obvious before we got this insider info from the DNC emails and John Podesta's emails, from Donna Brazile's book, it was clear that the DNC rigged the primary in favor of Hillary Clinton. And to deny that at this point, you're not just uninformed, you're not just ignorant, you're a liar. So look, I've been wrong about Elizabeth Warren before, but it seems like I was wrong about her yet again. Elizabeth Warren is now a liar, just like all other politicians, and even though, politically, policy-wise, she's preferable than the vast majority of the Democratic Party, the fact that she would still lie to us in spite of all this evidence, I think this shows a lot about who Elizabeth Warren really is, and it tells us a lot about her character. She doesn't care about democracy. She doesn't care about the policies that she's been advocating for her career. I mean, if she did, she would have endorsed Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton. And she is willing to fall in line anytime the establishment calls on her to do so. And she no longer cares about the truth. And that is incredibly disappointing because Elizabeth Warren, she was one of the few allies we had in the Senate, and she just, I don't think she's going to be able to repair this trust that she lost with progressives. I mean, this may be the last straw.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.